Here is our second lesson, boys and girls, on the difference between a criminal court case and a civil court case. And our mock trial, which was the state of Wisconsin versus one of our students as defendant, that was a criminal case because that dealt with murder, which is against state and federal law. Okay, so the first thing to note are some examples between the differences between criminal and civil cases. So here's some examples of criminal cases. All right, criminal cases are things that involve theft, murder, fraud, assault, and robbery. All right, so pretty significant things that we have heard of. In a civil case, on the other hand, we're dealing with still very important things and crimes, but we could maybe think of them as a lesser case, but still very important and not things you should do. So damage to other people's property, getting in a car accident, for example, personal injury. Did somebody slip and fall on your sidewalk as they walked past your house? Breach of contract, if contractors, people who do adjustments and changes to homes, if they don't do their job, they can be sued. And finally, battery. If we defined a criminal court case, we would want to define it as someone who breaks the law. Someone is accused of breaking the law in a state or a country. That would be a criminal case. In a civil case, it's two opposing parties are in disagreement over something, and one party sues the other party. Then one of the other main differences, besides definition and example, is burden of proof. Now, a burden of proof is like a level of certainty that something happened. We know that in a criminal case, the defendant, like Wyatt Armock or Braden Huget, Jackson Crowder, or Daniel Chapin in our case this year, they had to be found guilty beyond a reasonable doubt. All right. This means that the jury must be certain that the defendant committed the crime. Okay. All the evidence points to them and them alone. All right. In a civil case, it is different because the guilt of a defendant is determined based on what we call balance of probability. Okay. Balance of probability means that the jury thinks or weighs all the evidence, and if more than 50% shows guilt, the defendant is guilty. So we will look at that when we discover and look at the O.J. Simpson trial on the next slide. All right, so let's move over to there. Please pause the video if you see yourself falling behind. Okay, another major difference between criminal and civil cases is punishments. In a criminal case, punishments usually involve fines and or jail time. In a civil case, we see that consequences are usually in the form of what we call restitution. Restitution is money to compensate for damages. All right, let's look at our example of O.J. Simpson. O.J. Simpson actually faced two court cases. One was a criminal charge where he was found not guilty for the murder, the first-degree murder of his wife and lover. And in the civil case, later on, after the criminal case, he was charged with the wrongful deaths of his wife and lover. So let's go back to the criminal trial. So the jury had to find O.J. Simpson guilty beyond a reasonable doubt of killing Nicole Brown Simpson and the lover Goldman, I believe his name was. So one of the key pieces of evidence leading to OJ's innocence was that the glove don't fit. And this phrase came around, glove don't fit, must acquit. And acquit means to drop the charges. So O.J. Simpson, the gloves didn't fit all the way on his hand. The glove was apparently found at the murder scene, all bloody, and it didn't fit. So that was one of several probably pieces of evidence that led to his innocence. Now, when it comes for the civil case that was brought against Mr. Simpson by the family members, all you need is wrongful death, right? And you need that balance of probability. So 50% or more of the evidence shows that O.J. Simpson is guilty. So does O.J. Simpson have the majority of evidence showing that he's guilty of the crime? Absolutely. And in the case, it was settled that O.J. Simpson must pay $8.5 million for the wrongful death of Ron and Nicole. All right, that wraps up our lesson, civil versus criminal case. Hopefully you got that.